Randall Hughes with GodGlorified.com, and we're reading today's scripture for June the 1st, and we're reading from the Reese Chronological Bible, which is a King James Version Bible broken up into the chronological order that Reese believed was the best order. And so this was, our reading for today is from 972 BC, and it's going to begin at 2 Chronicles chapter 6, verse 12. And he stood before the altar of Yahweh in the presence of all the congregation of Israel and spread forth his hands. For Solomon had made a brazen scaffold of 5 cubits long and 5 cubits broad and 3 cubits high, and had set it in the midst of the court. And upon it he stood and kneeled down upon his knees before all the congregation of Israel and spread forth his hands toward heaven and said, O Yahweh God of Israel, there is no God like thee in the heavens, nor in the earth, which keepeth covenants and showeth mercy unto thy servants that walk before thee with all their hearts. Thou which hast kept with thy servant David my father that which thou hast promised him, and spakest with thy mouth, and hast fulfilled it with thine hand, as it is this day. Now, therefore, O Yahweh God of Israel, keep with thy servant David my father that which thou hast promised him, saying, There shall not fail thee a man in my sight to sit upon the throne of Israel. Yet so that thy children take heed to their way to walk in my law as thou hast walked before me. Now, then, O Yahweh God of Israel, let thy word be verified, which thou hast spoken unto thy servant David. But will God in very deed dwell with men on the earth? Behold, heaven and the heaven of heavens cannot contain thee, how much less this house which I have built. Have respect, therefore, to the prayer of thy servant and to his supplication, O Yahweh my God, to hearken unto the cry and the prayer which thy servant prayeth before thee, that thine eyes may be upon this house day and night, upon the place whereof thou hast said that thou wouldest put thy name there, to hearken unto the prayer which thy servant prayeth toward this place. Hearken therefore unto the supplication of thy servants and of thy people Israel, which they shall make toward this place. Hear thou from thy dwelling place, even from heaven, and when thou hearest, forgive. If a man sin against his neighbor, and an oath be laid upon him to make him swear, and the oath come before thine altar in this house, then hear thou from heaven, and do, and judge thy servants by requiting the wicked, by recompensing his way upon his own head, and by justifying the righteous, by giving him according to his righteousness. And if thy people Israel be put to worse before the enemy, because they have sinned against thee, and shall return and confess thy name, and pray and make supplication before thee in this house, then hear thou from the heavens, and forgive the sin of thy people Israel, and bring them again unto the land which thou gavest to them and to their fathers. When the heaven is shut up, and there is no rain, because they have sinned against thee, yet if they pray toward this place, and confess thy name, and turn from their sin when thou dost afflict them, then hear thou from heaven, and forgive the sin of thy people, thy servants, and of thy people Israel, when thou hast taught them the good way wherein they should walk, and sent rain upon thy land, and which thou hast given to thy people for an inheritance. If there be dearth in the land, if there be pestilence, if there be blasting, or mildew, locust, or caterpillar, if their enemies besiege them in the cities of their lands, whatsoever sore or whatsoever sickness there be, then what prayer or what supplication soever shall be made of any man or of all thy people Israel, when every one shall know his own sore and his own grief, and shall spread forth his hands in this house, then hear thou from heaven and thy dwelling place, and forgive, and render unto every man according to all his ways, whose heart thou knowest, for thou only knowest the hearts of the children of men, that they may fear thee to walk in thy ways, so long as they live in the land which thou gavest unto our fathers. Moreover, concerning the stranger, which is not of thy people Israel, but is come from a far country, for thy great name's sake, and thy mighty hand, and thy stretched out arm, if they come and pray in this house, then hear thou from the heavens, even from thy dwelling place, and do according to all that the stranger calleth to thee for, that all the people of the earth may know thy name, and fear thee, as doth thy people Israel, and may know that this house which I have built is called by thy name. If thy people go out to war against their enemies by the way that thou shalt send them, and they pray unto thee toward this city which thou hast chosen, and the house which I have built for thy name, then hear thou from the heavens their prayer and their supplication, and maintain their cause. If they sin against thee, for there is no man which sinneth not, and thou be angry with them, and deliver them over before their enemies, and they give them away captives into a land far off or near. Yet if they bethink themselves in the land, whether they be carried captive, and turn and pray unto thee in the land of their captivity, saying, We have sinned, we have done amiss, and have dealt wickedly. If they return to thee with all their heart, and with all their soul in the land of their captivity, whether they have carried them captives, and prayed toward their land, which thou gavest unto their fathers, and toward the city which thou hast chosen, and toward the house which I have built for thy name, then hear thou from the heavens, even from the dwelling place, their prayer and their supplication, and maintain their cause. Forgive thy people which have sinned against thee. Now, my God, let I beseech thee, thine eyes be open, and let thine ears be attent unto the prayer that is made in this place. Now, therefore, arise, O Yahweh God, unto thy resting place, thou and the ark of thy strength. Let thy priest, O Yahweh God, be clothed with salvation, and let thy saints rejoice in goodness. O Yahweh God, turn not away the face of thine anointed. Remember the mercies of David, thy servant. And now we're to 1 Kings chapter 8, verse 54. And it was so that when Solomon had made an end of praying all this prayer and supplication unto Yahweh, he arose from before the altar of Yahweh, from kneeling on his knees, and his hands spread up to heaven. And he stood and blessed all the congregation of Israel with a loud voice, saying, Blessed be Yahweh, that hath given rest unto his people Israel, according to all that he promised. There hath not failed one word of all his good promise, which he promised by the hand of Moses his servant. Yahweh our God be with us, as he was with our fathers. Let him not leave us nor forsake us, that he may incline our hearts unto him to walk in all his ways, and to keep his commandments and his statutes and his judgments, which he commanded our fathers. And let these my words wherewith I have made supplication before Yahweh be nigh unto Yahweh our God day and night, that he maintain the cause of his servant and the cause of his people Israel at all times, as the matter shall require, that all the people of the earth may know that Yahweh is God, and there is none else. Let your heart therefore be perfect with Yahweh our God, and walk in his statutes, to keep his commandments as at this day. 2 Chronicles chapter 7, verses 1 through 3. Now when Solomon had made an end of praying, the fire came down from heaven and consumed the burnt offering and the sacrifices, and the glory of Yahweh filled the house. And the priest could not enter into the house of Yahweh, because the glory of Yahweh had filled Yahweh's house. And when all the children of Israel saw how the fire came down and the glory of Yahweh upon the house, they bowed themselves with their faces to the ground upon the pavement, and worshipped and praised Yahweh, saying, For he is good, for his mercy endureth forever. And now 1 Kings chapter 8, verses 62 to 66. And the king and all Israel with him offered sacrifices before Yahweh. And Solomon offered a sacrifice of peace offerings, which he offered unto the Yahweh 22,000 oxen, and 120,000 sheep. So the king and all the children of Israel dedicated the house of Yahweh. The same day the king hallowed the middle of the court that was before the house of Yahweh, for there he offered burnt offerings and meat offerings, and the fat of the peace offerings, because the brazen altar was there before Yahweh was too little. The brazen altar was too little to receive the burnt offerings and the meat offerings and the fat of the peace offerings. And at that time Solomon held a feast, and all Israel with him, a great congregation, from the entering in of Hamath unto the river of Egypt, before Yahweh our God 7 days, and 7 days, even 14 days. On the 8th day he sent the people away, and they blessed the king, and went into their tents joyful and glad of heart, and all the goodness that Yahweh had done for David his servant, and for Israel his people. Back to 2 Chronicles chapter 7, verses 4 through 10. Then the king and all the people offered sacrifices before Yahweh, and Solomon offered a sacrifice of 22,000 oxen and 120,000 sheep. So the king and all the people dedicated the house of God, and the priests waited on their offices, the Levites also with instruments of music of Yahweh, which David the king had made to praise Yahweh, because his mercy endureth forever. When David praised by their ministry, and the priests sounded trumpets before them, and all Israel stood. Moreover, Solomon hallowed the middle of the court that was before the house of Yahweh, for there he offered burnt offerings and the fat of the peace offerings, because the brazen altar which Solomon had made was not able to receive the burnt offerings and the meat offerings and the fat. And at the same time Solomon kept the feast 7 days, and all Israel with him, a very great congregation, from their entering in of Hamath unto the rivers of Egypt. And in the 8th day they made a solemn assembly, for they kept the dedication of the altar 7 days, and the feast 7 days. And on the 23rd day of the 7th month he sent the people away into their tents, glad and merry in heart, for the goodness that Yahweh had shown unto David, and to Solomon, and to Israel, his people. And that's going to conclude our reading for today, for June the 1st. God bless you.